Alright, we're going to do the brakes today on a 2013 Kia Soul base model, but disc brakes are pretty much the same on any vehicle, so I'm going to show you the similarities and how to change your brake pads on pretty much any vehicle. So if you've never done this before, I want to start by telling you that your front pads obviously are always going to be bigger because the majority of your stopping power comes from the front brakes. When you get on your brake pedal, all the weight of the vehicle comes forward, so obviously you need bigger brakes in the front of the vehicle. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this CRC disc brake quiet, and the instructions say to apply it to the back of the pad, the metal backing, and that just helps to reduce brake noise, squeaking, things of that sort. So let's start by applying that, and we'll go jack the vehicle up, get started on that. But let's go ahead and apply some of this CRC disc brake quiet. Alright, now that I've applied the CRC, I'm going to let that sit, and what it's going to do, it's going to get tacky. And that's going to help to prevent noise, squeaking, things of that sort. Alright, let's go to the vehicle. Okay, now with the vehicle already jacked up, the first thing that we want to do is realize that when we get to messing with brakes, we can get some back pressure. The brake fluid can back up and pour out of the reservoir. So the first thing you really want to do, take the cap off of your reservoir. Find something that you can suck as much fluid out of here as possible, because when you get to doing the brakes, that fluid can come back and pour out of here. So we want to try to get some of that out. So you can use a turkey baster, anything that you want to use to get that out. Go ahead and take out as much as you can. Brake fluid is cheap, and we'll just replace it once we're done with our disc brakes. Brake pads. Let's go ahead and do that first. Now it's time to take the front wheels off. You can do one corner at a time. Do the fronts first and then the back, or the back and then the front. And it's pretty much going to be the same steps all the way around with disc brakes. Pretty easy to do, not a problem. Alright, let's get started. Alright, now that we have the front wheel off, we are looking at the brake assembly. This is the brake rotor, okay, right here, this disc. Okay, this is the brake caliper, if you do not know. And basically the pads sit inside of here. When you press the brake pedal, they squeeze against this disc. If you let your pads get down too far, they're going to dig into this. You definitely don't want that. So the caliper is what we're dealing with today. That's what the brake pads sit in. So you have a top caliper bolt, and then you have an identical one on the very bottom. These need to be pulled out. A lot of times you can just loosen the one on the top, or take the one on the top out, just loosen the one on the bottom, and this whole caliper will just swivel down, and you can do your work. Put it back, put the bolts back in, and you're done. I'll see what I get into on this 2013 Kia Soul. I'm going to attempt to just swivel it down, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, as you can see, this metal piece right here that my thumb is going across, the bigger part, that's the backing to the brake pad. This piece right here, that's the actual brake pad itself. Look how thin it is. Okay, in a minute we'll do a comparison between the two, but your brake pad is normally going to come way out to about right there. So these are done on this vehicle, very much done. Not a whole lot left at all, so definitely time to change them. That one's got a little bit more. Alright, quick comparison. Old brake pad versus the new. Look at the difference. That's why it's important to keep up with your brakes. Definitely don't want to get metal to metal contact, because then you'll be going into more money, more time. Changing pads is simple. If you keep an eye on them, you won't have to change out your rotors. You won't have any issues there. Okay, the next step that we have to do with the brake caliper. Brake calipers have a piston here. When you step on the brake pedal, that piston comes out, forces against the brake pads and causes them to touch the rotor. Now, when putting the new pads in, obviously they are thicker, so we have to compress this piston. So using a C-clamp, I've done that here, basically recessed the piston back up inside as much as possible. You don't want to go too hard because you could possibly break it, I guess. Now, one thing to keep in mind with disc brakes, this is the most important thing in my opinion. These pistons, if they're not hollow inside of here, I don't know if you can see, I don't know if you can see how this fits inside, that the C-clamp fits inside of the piston. Okay, some of these will be flat. The piston will come out and be flat on the end, and it will have two notches. Those notches indicate that the piston does not go straight down. You can't force it back. You have to twist it down. It doesn't push down, it twists down. So in that case, you'll need a special tool, and they do sell these tools that you can put on a ratchet extension. You can get from O'Reilly's, AutoZone, any of your local parts stores. So now that we have this piston recessed back the way that we need it, I'm going to take the C-clamp off, spray everything down with brake cleaner, and get started on putting in our new pads. Okay, on some disc brakes, on the majority of them, you will have these different clips. When you buy your brake pads, it will give you directions on how to put the clips back. On this vehicle, you have one that rests on the bottom, you have one that rests on the top, and you got one on the side here. Pretty simple to figure out. And you can see these little tabs here where the clips clip on. Pretty simple stuff. So the brake pads go in, and you can look at the pads and see how they go on. They're, you know, kind of arched, so obviously they're going to go with the arch of the brake rotor. So pretty easy to figure out. Nothing hard at all. Now all we got to do is take top part of the caliper, put it back on, and simply put the bolts back in, and we're done. And that is disc brakes pretty much on any vehicle. Your backs will be identical. You'll have a top bolt and a bottom bolt, and you just do them pretty much the same way. And again, remember, like I said, look for your brake piston, caliper piston. As you can see, that one's hollow, so that's one that can be pushed down. If it's flat all the way in the front, right here, that whole surface is flat with two notches, you know that it does not press down, it twists down. So that's pretty much brake pads on any vehicle, not just a 2013 Kia Soul, but any vehicle that you might have. Simple as that.